So today is a very important day to the friends and family and fans of Dallas McCarver. This is the anniversary today of his passing, 1 year. And obviously you have me here, Aaron, and Silky Tube by Eric Hart, two people very close to him. And I thought that it was important for us to do a video talking about Dallas and remembering Dallas and talking about the impact that he had on us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Dallas. He was a big person, but I mean, that was like just a larger than life personality. He was a big part of all of our lives. I mean, probably like you, everyone's like, oh, my brother. I was like, that was one of our kids, man.
Yeah.
Goofy as a kid.
Sure.
You know, like that's the part that's always like, it's like the bittersweet, you know, that's how you remember him. It's like the tough part always to miss, but even in a sad time, like you picture that personality, that smile, and it's hard to be upset.
Yeah, he played a big role in our lives and in the business, and he was the face of Redcon 1. And I think that instead of going into a lot of the sad stuff, because we could remember the day and the day before when we found out, and really dwell on how shocking and sad it was. Somebody recently asked me about his funeral. I mean, like, it's just like we could talk about all that stuff, but instead I'd rather use our time to talk about what a big impact that he made on us and made on Redcon 1 and made on the world. I think that Dallas would have to be looking down smiling, because the amount of interest in Dallas, his life, him as a person, and the impact that we hear on a daily basis that he made on people is just unprecedented.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that someone doesn't hit me up through Instagram or just even from customers that bring up a story, you know, still look for his shirts, you know, just because it's as if he's still here.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we don't physically have him, but he's in everyone's hearts and memories just as more now than ever. And, you know, like there's a kid, Ryan Crawley from the UK, who's competing that, you know, his biggest inspiration is Dallas, and he stays in contact with me daily. So yeah, it's, you know, his passing's a day none of us will ever forget. You know, you're never gonna be able to get it out of your head. So I think it's best just to honor him with talking about him, just like, you know,
Yeah.
I normally would. So,
You know, it's funny because when Redcon started, when me and you sat down with Eduardo and Howard and Eddie, that was the initial group, right? When we sat down, you know, we didn't even have a name at the time when I told you, like, hey, how well do you know Dallas? And you obviously had known him from working before, right?
yeah, because I signed him at BSN when he was just a kid.
Yeah.
I still remember like taking him to lunch at J. Alexander's. And
He was 20 years old or something, right?
Yeah, 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And I remember he was just like, everything, like Boca was so foreign to him.
I couldn't believe it.
Come down from, I think at that time he might have been in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had my Escalade at the time. He got in and he was just like looking at
Yeah.
everything. And yeah, and you know, unfortunately, like fortunately, I should say, I spent a lot of time with him, traveled with him, but unfortunately, like he never really got utilized. The world never really saw this kid.
Yeah.
They knew about him, but they didn't see him. So I still remember I was at indoor play place with Jackson. You called me, you're like, who would you want to sign? And I was like, well, I know who I would.
Yeah.
It was almost like Step Brothers, like same time as like Dallas.
Right.
You know, because it's the one person that the world had never really seen, had huge potential. It just was really a larger than life person. So.
You know, when I think about, like, you know, BSN obviously back in the day signed Ronnie Coleman when he was on his way up by that point, but he certainly wasn't what he ended up becoming. You know, greatest of all time, arguably. Anyway, Dallas reminded me a lot of Ronnie Coleman, because I was like, man, this is a guy has a personality that's likable, who's humongous, and is actually able to lift a lot of weight, and nobody had seen anything.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. We talk about this. He idolized Ronnie.
Idolized him. Yeah.
You know, and he chased all those lifts because it was as to pay homage to him, because it was like that was the thing that drove him to do all those
Yep.
things.
And so I called him, and he was at his sister's graduation when I called him, and he said, "Hey, can I hit you back right when I leave here?" And he called me back. I was in a hotel room. I don't remember where I was, or I remember Eduardo knows where we were, but I was in the hotel room, and he called me back, and I told him the plan for the brand, and kind of like what we had thought, even though I didn't necessarily have a name yet. And And basically I said, this is what it is, but you're gonna have to move to Boca. You're gonna have to leave, your friends and family in Tennessee, and you're gonna have to move across the country essentially to Boca. And I gotta tell you that for me, a big point in my memory is when he was like, yes, he's like, deal, let's do it. It was like, oh, this is it felt like it was gonna work. Like everything was clicking, where it's like, not that I had doubts about how Redcon was gonna go, but for some reason him saying yes so fast gave me more confidence in how well we were gonna do. I was just like, damn, he believes that much so fast,
Yeah, because I think that's what it is, right? He, as much as we believed in it, that small group of us from the beginning that believed in it, with someone else on the outside validating as well. I was like, yes, I believe in it too.
Enough to move across the country and leave his family. And
leave a contract, leave his family, leave everything, and say, yep, I'm gonna do this.
I'm in. I want to formally welcome you to the team.
Pleasure.
It's nice. We're both very excited about all this. We're excited for what you guys are gonna see. I mean, the truth of the matter is that in bodybuilding, in the fitness industry, really, there has never been anything like we're about to do.
He moved down here, and shortly after, at the time he was prepping for the Chicago Pro, when we were right before he moved, right? He won the Chicago Pro and then moved down right after, yeah. And it was cool because at the Chicago Pro, he at that time I believe we were selling T-shirts, but we didn't even been selling T-shirts yet.
I think we just made some.
Yeah. So we had Dallas all outfitted in all Redcon stuff, and I told Dallas, when people ask you what's Redcon 1, tell them you can't tell them.
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah, literally, that was my idea. I was like, so all these people are he has Redcon all over him, and he's this monster, and we thought he was gonna win, which he did. And so people nonstop are saying, well, what's Redcon? He's like, I can't tell you, I'm sorry. And I feel like that began the hype train that Dallas, by doing that, people started following the Redcon on Instagram, and started following him. He was tagging us and everything, and it really got the initial interest going.
Yeah, because you had this young kid who a lot of people knew about, but really hadn't seen. I think there's some mystery around him because not a lot of content around him. And then you have him promoting this brand that he won't talk about.
Yeah,
it's pretty good start.
Yeah, it was a pretty good start. It was definitely an auspicious beginning, and obviously him winning and everything, it all kind of lined up. So he moved down here to Boca and joined the team full time, and it was great to have him down here because he was not just an athlete; he was involved in a lot more and came to the office regularly.
That's the thing I always loved, man. He was in the office every day for the most part, unless he had something going on. I always would tell people, I was like, man, I could be in the worst mood, and all you'd hear the lumbering up the steps.
Yeah.
The way he had to waddle and sidestep because his legs are so big.
Yeah.
Probably had a bowl of food in his hand. Oh, what's going on? And so you'd see the top of his head, and it's like, you couldn't be in a bad mood for too long with him around because it was always story time with him. The best thing probably about him is his inability to say no to a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in that came these larger than life stories that were probably 99% true.
Yeah. And we were able to capture tons of footage of Dallas training and lifting some crazy weights. It's funny because I saw so much of that around him that it would be nothing for him to squat 6 plates for reps or bench 5 plates or deadlift something crazy. So you would go into the Dragon's Lair and see him do this stuff, and it's funny because now that I haven't seen him, I was so desensitized to seeing this stuff that now when I see somebody squatting 6 plates, we don't ever see it really here in Boca. Nobody's doing it,
Really.
But if I see it on the line, wow, it's a lot. But I think back, it was that was just a regular Dallas workout.
Yeah, and it wasn't even him pushing it.
No, he was just being safe, being careful.
The thing. He got to this more careful spot.
Yeah.
Because then he was gonna ramp up and chase the 1,000-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is the cool thing too is, again, you became desensitized to him too as how big he was.
Yep.
Because you'd be around him and it's you kind of after a while you get used to it. Then you'd be around other pro bodybuilders and then you see him and you'd be like,
yeah,
shit.
I remember thinking how tiny Flex was. I was like, Flex is like a normal guy. And then, because compared, and now you see Flex now, and you're like, oh, geez, look at him. Because it's so interesting, you get used to it. Because I never really thought of Dallas as that big. I like got totally used to how big he was, and then you think back, and I look at a video now, I'm like, holy moly.
Even when Kai would come in office,
Yeah.
you know, Kai's a monster, but I mean, Dallas's shoulder girdle was this wide.
Yeah.
You know, the sales guys have one of his shirts hanging on the wall.
I know.
I mean, it literally looks like someone pinned a tent on the wall.
Yeah.
It's like,
And that fit him. That fit him. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
and there's a comparison like Brian Shaw, they both wear 5X.
Yep. Yeah.
You know.
Brian Shaw's 425 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah, pretty wild. I mean, the one thing I remember in the very beginning, him coming to my house and shooting the video and talking about what we believe in at Redcon 1. And it was so cool to have him come and like, you didn't have to feed him any lines about what he believed or what the brand meant or anything, because it was him. You know, he truly personified what we were looking for in the brand: blue collar work ethics, treating people the way you want to be treated, being honest and forthright. So like, it was great to see him in my kitchen when we shot that initial first video, wearing the black polo shirt and everything. And it's like, he said the things that I would have wanted an athlete to say, but I didn't tell him anything. It was just him being honest.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I think you take that a little bit further too, is you look around the office and all these pictures of the history of the brand. He's involved in all this team building and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, whether we went paintballing or go-karting, because he wasn't just a paid athlete, he was really part of our family.
Right.
You know, so yeah, he was entrenched in it because, like we said, he believed in it wholeheartedly, so you didn't have to feed him anything. It's just his opinion on it.
Yep. And to this day, Dallas surrounds the office. You know, he is the most. Yeah. You see his picture everywhere. You know, from when you walk in to seeing the 20-foot banner that was hanging at the Arnold to everywhere. I mean, there's all of his ads are framed and everything else. You know, in my office, you know, we have a magazine cover of him, and it's just like, you know, we do our best to honor him and remember him. A lot of that stuff was there when he was around, and a lot has been added since then.
Yeah, and you always get people asking, like, you know, are you going to replace him? You know, are you going to get a different bodybuilder? And it's always like, no.
It's impossible. You
There's,
couldn't.
There's no way to replace him. I mean, you can pay homage to him, which I think we did with Brian, because Dallas was a huge fan of powerlifting and strength sports.
Yeah.
Like, I think the two of them would have got along great.
Yeah. Oh,
You know?
definitely. They were trained together for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's Brian more or less pays homage to him and doesn't replace him.
Yeah.
There is no replacement for that kid.
Right.
I mean, you know, there's no way to do it. I mean, you know, you think of like Big Country 1 when he took over the site for the day.
Yeah.
There's no one else that could do that shit.
Nobody else could do it. Nobody else could do it. And so, you know, when his birthday was here, we had thousands of people posting his pictures and talking about how they remember him. And now, as 1 year of his passing, the anniversary of his passing, I can only imagine it will be just as much or more. Because it's Dallas's, the interest in Dallas and remembering him, I feel like it has gotten more and more instead of less. Time hasn't forgotten him. I think that he'll be remembered, and we'll do our best to make sure that happens. And you know, to honor his family and his memory. It was nice to have Penny in the office. His mom came to the office the other day, and we gave her a tour, and she seemed very proud of what Dallas helped build.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, he was, you know, you could say he signed on from day one and was there. But to your point about not being forgotten, actually, it was like Battle of the Bay when we were there in Corpus. I mean, Eduardo and I, that was the last time we had really spent time traveling with him.
Yeah.
So it was like, fast forward 1 year later, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know, you have those moments where it's just like you're brought back in time instantly, and I think that's the impact he had on fans.
Yeah.
Like, people, yeah, they don't want to forget, like, because the impact he had on them was so massive that it's just like, you know, you'll do something and you're instantly brought back to that time. But for the most part, I think in a good way, because he made people feel good. You know, it gave them good memories. So it's not a sad remembrance. It's a wow, you know, it's like, I think they remember back to that good time they had with him.
Yeah. Yeah. So with all that in mind, you know, we're sending out good thoughts and vibes out to Dallas and his family. And so,
I mean, I know he's watching us. The kid's always there.
Yeah.
Never won't be. You know, so again, this is just a way to remember him in a positive way, and to let everyone know he's always a part of Redcon 1.